My name is Jonas, the carpenter of Hati. I've lived in this beautiful valley all my life, where the air smells of white flowers and kindness is as common as the rising sun. Everything we do here is inspired by Sovereign, our mighty ruler, whose wisdom guides us. But today, I tell you about the shadows that crept into our paradise. It began on a crisp morning. I was preparing a table outside my workshop when a stranger entered the square. He was tall, with a sleek dark coat that seemed to absorb the sunlight, and his smile, it was unnerving. It was too perfect, too practiced, as if he had rehearsed it 1,000 times in front of a mirror. Behind him followed a group of men and women, dressed in fine clothing, their faces unreadable but striking. Good morning, the stranger called, his voice smooth like honey, but with an edge of steel. Mother Lilia, always the first to welcome newcomers, approached him with her usual warmth. Welcome to Hathi, traveler. I am Mother Lilia. What brings you to our peaceful town? The man's eyes scanned the square, lingering on Sovereign's portrait for a moment before he spoke. I am Marvin, he said, bowing slightly. My friends and I travel from town to town, bringing prosperity and progress wherever we go. I felt a chill run down my spine. Something about his words didn't sit right with me, but the people around seemed intrigued. Felix, the little rascal, ran up to me, curious as always. What kind of progress? He asked, his big eyes filled with wonder. Marvin crouched to meet the boy's gaze. Why? The kind that makes life easier, better, and more exciting. Tell me, boy, wouldn't you like to see Hattie become the greatest town in the valley? Over the following days, Marvin and his gang spread through Hattie like ivy. They were everywhere, at the fountain, the fields, even in the evening gatherings. They brought strange gifts, shiny tools, colorful fabrics, and spices that made your mouth water. At first, the people were cautious, but Marvin's charm was like a fire on a cold night, irresistible. One evening, Clara and I stood near the fence we had just fixed. The sun was setting, painting the sky in fiery oranges. She frowned, her basket of flowers untouched. Jonas, don't you think it's strange? The way Marvin talks, it's like he wants us to forget Sovereign. I nodded. I've noticed it too. He never mentions Sovereign, and when someone else does, it just changes the topic. But the others don't say it, Clara said, her voice trembling. They say Marvin's ideas are modern. They think we are stuck in the past. The tipping point came during one of our evening gatherings. Marvin stood in the square, lantern light casting long shadows on his face. My friends, he began, his voice resonating. I have been with you for weeks now and I see your potential, but your lives could be so much more. He gestured to Sovereign's portrait. This tradition, it holds you back. Why rely on the memory of a man who isn't here? You have me now, and I can show you how to be truly free. There was silence. Then, to my horror, someone clapped. And then another. Soon the square erupted in applause. Clara turned to me, her eyes wide with disbelief. They are falling for him. The next day, the changes began. Marvin's gang convinced the farmers to use their new tools, which made the crops grow faster but drained the soil. They told the children stories that twisted Sovereign's teachings, turning love into selfishness. Even the golden portrait of Sovereign was taken down and replaced with a banner of Marvin's face. I tried to speak out. Can't you see what he's doing? He's turning us against everything Sovereign taught us. But my words fell on deaf ears. Jonas, you are stuck in the old ways. One man said, this is progress. Mother Lilia, once so strong and Wise seemed weary. Jonas, she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. People's hearts are easily swayed when they forget their foundation. One evening, I found Felix sitting by the fountain, his usually bright eyes clouded. What's wrong, Felix? He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. Marvin promised me new toys, but now he says I have to work for them. He says Sovereign wouldn't mind if I stop helping the weaker kids. But I feel so bad. I knelt beside him, my heart breaking. Felix, Sovereign's love is always with us. He would never ask us to abandon each other. Don't let Marvin take that away from you. As the days turned to weeks, Happy no longer felt like home. The fields were barren, the laughter of children replaced by the clinking of coins, and the warmth of community dimmed. I often stood in the empty square, staring at the spot where Sovereign's portrait once hung, praying silently. But deep in my heart, I knew this wasn't the end. Sovereign's light couldn't be extinguished, not entirely. I held onto the hope that one day, maybe just one day, we would remember who we truly were and rise again. And perhaps, just perhaps, Sovereign himself would return to save us. I'm still Jonas, though now it feels like I'm clinging to that name, just as I cling to what little hope is left. Hattie, my beloved home, had become a shadow of itself. The golden fields were grey and cracked. Laughter was a memory, and Sovereign's teachings were whispered only in secret. But what broke me most was seeing Mother Lydia, hey, a beacon of strength and wisdom, silenced. She has spoken out against Marvin one too many times. His gang made sure she was dealt with, though none dared to say how. One night, as I sat outside my workshop, staring at the empty square, Clara rushed toward me, her face pale. Jonas, she whispered, clutching a folded piece of parchment. Look at this. I opened it cautiously. The writing was bold, familiar. Do not despair. The heart of Ati be still. Prepare the people, I am coming. S. My hands trembled. Sovereign! I murmured. Clara's eyes were wide with awe, but fear lingered. What if it's a trap? What if Maven wrote this to flush us out? I shook my head. No, Clara. I know Sovereign's hand. He hasn't abandoned us. In the days that followed, Clara and I spread the message quietly, speaking only to those we trusted. Felix was one of the first to join us. His youthful courage reminded me of the hearty we used to be. I'll do anything to help, he said firmly, though his small frame shook with nerves. The townsfolk gathered in secret at night, whispering plans in abandoned barns and fields. The message was clear. We would resist. But Marvin was no fool. His spies moved among us, and one evening the square was filled with soldiers. Marvin stood at the center, his face a mask of triumph. I know some of you still cling to the old ways, he sneered. You think Sovereign will return to save you? Let me tell you, he is gone, forgotten. He held up a tattered burnt piece of fabric. My heart sank. It was part of Sovereign's banner. That night, Felix came running to my workshop, his breath ragged. Jonas, soldiers are coming for you and Clara. We barely escaped, darting through dark alleys and fields. As we hid among the sheep, Clara turned to me, her voice trembling. We can't do this alone. What if Sovereign doesn't come? He will, I said, though doubt gnawed at me. We just have to hold on. The next day, Marvin announced a grand feast. He claimed it was to celebrate progress, but we all knew it was a show of power. The square was filled with tables, laden with food that many of us hadn't tasted in weeks. But something was strange. As the feast began, a group of travelers entered the square, cloaked and hooded. They moved quietly, sitting among the people. One of them, a tall figure with a commanding presence, caught my eye. My heart skipped a bit. Could it be? Before I could act, Marvin stood, raising his goblet to the future. He declared. The tall figure rose too, pulling back his hood. Gasps rippled through the crowd. It was Sovereign! Sovereign stand! Oh my! Marvin's goblet crashed to the ground. Impossible! He spat. You were destroyed. Sovereign's voice was calm but powerful. You underestimated the heart of Hattie, Maven. You thought you could extinguish what binds us, but love and truth cannot be destroyed. The town folks soared with emotion, hope, fear, anger. Fairly standing beside me whispered, He's really here. Maven snarled, You are too late. These people are mine now. But Sovereign stepped forward, his presence commanding. Are they? He looked at the crowd, his gaze piercing. People of Artsy, do you remember who you are? Do you remember the love and unity that built this place? For a moment, there was silence. Then, from the back of the crowd, a voice called out, We remember! It was Mother Lilia, frail but alive. The tall figure was really sovereign. Wow, this is amazing. So, we have sovereign with us again. Marvin soldiers advanced. But Sovereign didn't flinch. He raised its hand and a wind swept through the square, scattering the soldiers like leaves. Hello! But Marvin wasn't done. He pulled a blade, lunged towards Sovereign. I froze, my heart in my throat. Sovereign caught the blade with his bare hand. Blood dripped, but he held firm, his eyes locked on Marvin. Your power is built on lies. Marvin, it ends now. The townsfolk, emboldened by Sovereign's presence, rushed forward. Felix threw stones. Clara led the charge. Marvin's gang fled, their hold on Hattie broken. As the sun rose the next day, Sovereign stood in the square, his golden cloak catching the light. The people of Ati gathered around him, their faces filled with hope. We lost our way, he said, his voice steady, but the heart of Hati never stopped beating. Let this be a lesson. Unity, love, and truth will always triumph over deception. Tears streamed down my face as I knelt before him. We thought we'd lost you. Sovereign placed a hand on my shoulder. You never lost me, Jonas. I was always here in the love you showed each other. And so, Acti began to heal. The fields turned golden again, laughter returned, and Sovereign's teachings became our foundation once more. As for Marvin, no one knew where he fled, but deep in my heart, I knew the shadows would try to return. This time, though, we would be ready. Please subscribe if you are yet to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.